You know, the hardest truth in relationships is not that someone lied to you. It's that your heart already knew long before your mind admitted it. There comes a moment when her words stop matching her eyes, when her presence feels distant, even while she's standing right in front of you. And you feel it, that subtle shift, that quiet tension, that strange heaviness that wasn't there before. We try to ignore it. We try to rationalize it. We try to convince ourselves that we're overthinking. But deep down, you can sense when something isn't real anymore. A lie doesn't always show up in dramatic ways. Sometimes it whispers in the pauses she takes before answering simple questions. Sometimes it hides in the way she avoids your gaze, or how her tone suddenly becomes careful, rehearsed, controlled. You notice the little things, a story that doesn't align, an emotion that doesn't match the moment, a distance that grows no matter how close you stand. And the painful part is not the lie itself, it's watching the person you trusted choose to pretend instead of being honest. If you're here, maybe a part of you is seeking clarity. Maybe you're tired of feeling confused, tired of second guessing yourself, tired of carrying the weight of questions she refuses to answer. And today we're going to bring light to what your intuition has already been trying to tell you, because the truth isn't meant to break you, it's meant to free you. Let's talk about the signs that reveal when she's not telling you the truth, even if her smile says otherwise. Sign number 1, her energy shifts before her words do. And if you pay close attention, you'll notice it long before anything is actually said out loud. Human beings communicate through energy more than language. And when someone is hiding something from you, their entire vibe changes in ways they can't control. You might feel it in the way she walks into the room, lighter or heavier than usual. You might sense it in the way she offers a smile that doesn't quite reach her eyes. It's subtle, almost unnoticeable if you're distracted. But when you care about someone, when you're emotionally connected to them, your intuition becomes incredibly sharp. It picks up messages that the mind hasn't decoded yet. And that's why even when everything seems normal, something inside you whispers that something is off. Think about the times you've talked to her and felt a strange distance, even though her words sounded perfectly fine. That's because lies don't always begin with speech. They begin with hesitation, with discomfort, with a shift in the emotional atmosphere. She may respond to you like she always does, but her tone suddenly loses warmth. She may laugh with you, but the laughter feels practiced. She might say the right things, but her presence feels disconnected, and you're left wondering why your chest every time she talks, why you're suddenly alert, why you're paying attention to details you never had to before. This is your inner warning system trying to protect you, trying to help you see what your heart doesn't want to admit. When she's honest, her energy flows freely. You feel safe, open, connected. But when she's hiding something, that flow gets blocked. She becomes guarded, slightly tense, a bit more careful with her actions. You'll notice she avoids lingering moments of eye contact, or she gives explanations that feel just a bit too prepared. It's not that she suddenly becomes a bad person. It's that she's internally struggling between who she wants to appear as and what she's trying to conceal. And that inner conflict creates an emotional vibration you can feel even if you can't explain it. You might even catch yourself replaying conversations in your head, trying to figure out why a certain moment felt strange. You might think you're overreacting, but you're not. You're picking up on the very first sign of dishonesty, the emotional shift that happens before the lie leaves her lips. That's why trusting your intuition is so important. Intuition is not paranoia. Intuition is the data your soul collects before your brain fully understands it. And the more you ignore it, the more confused you become. If you truly want to know whether she's lying, don't just listen to what she says. Feel the energy behind her words. Feel the pauses, the hesitation, the sudden changes in how she shows up, because her energy will always reveal the truth first, long before she chooses to speak it. Sign number 2, inconsistency is never random. It's a map pointing to the truth she's trying to hide. And once you start paying attention to the patterns, everything begins to make sense. When someone lies, they often forget that the story they created has to be maintained, repeated, and protected. But the truth never needs maintenance. It stays the same every time you revisit it. A lie, on the other hand, starts to crack the moment you ask the right questions, or simply observe the little details she didn't expect you to notice. And this is where inconsistency becomes your biggest advantage, because even if she's determined to hide something, her story will eventually betray her. You'll notice the first cracks when her explanations shift slightly from one conversation to another. At first, it might seem harmless. Maybe she changes the timing of something. Maybe she adds a detail that wasn't there before. Maybe the tone she uses feels different each time she mentions the same event. Individually, these things might seem small, but together, they paint a picture of someone who's trying to remember what they said last time rather than simply telling the truth. That's why lies are hard to maintain. They require memory, performance, and consistency, 3 things that crumble under pressure. Think about moments when she tries to reassure you, but her reassurances feel shaky, like she's repeating something she rehearsed rather than something she genuinely feels. Or when she gives an explanation that technically makes sense, but something in your gut tells you it sounds too polished, too controlled, too distant from the real emotion. These inconsistencies are not coincidences, they are clues. They are the breadcrumbs that lead you to what's really happening behind the scenes. And the more you pay attention, the clearer the trail becomes. Watch how she reacts when you casually bring up the same topic again on a different day. If the details suddenly change, if her tone becomes defensive, if she tries to rush the conversation or shift the subject too quickly, that's not confusion, that's strategy. She's trying to protect the version of the story she wants you to believe, even if it doesn't fully align with the version she told you earlier. This is why you must stay observant, not suspicious, observant, because observant people don't accuse, they understand, they read the signs, they connect the dots. And this is where most people slip. They ignore the little inconsistencies because they don't want the truth to hurt. But the truth is already speaking through those cracks. And the longer you avoid seeing it, the deeper the confusion becomes. When someone lies, they can control their words, but they cannot control the timeline, the emotions, or the natural flow of truth. So when something doesn't add up, it's not your imagination. It's a signal. It's the story asking you to look closer. And when you learn to read these inconsistencies, you no longer get lost in what she says. You see what she's trying so hard not to say. Sign number 3, the body reveals what the mouth tries to conceal. And if you truly want to understand whether she's lying, you need to watch her actions just as closely as you listen to her words. The body doesn't know how to lie. It reacts instinctively, emotionally, and honestly. When someone hides the truth, the first place it shows is not in their voice, but in their posture, their eyes, their hands, and the small movements they don't even realize they're making. And once you start paying attention, these signals become impossible to unsee. You'll notice shifts, hesitation, and discomfort that tell a story much deeper than her words ever could. Think about the time she answered you but couldn't hold your gaze. Her eyes might dart away for a second, or she might blink more than usual. These reactions seem tiny, but they speak volumes because the eyes reveal emotional tension. When someone is honest, their gaze stays steady, calm, and open. When someone is hiding something, the eyes tell on them. They flicker, they hesitate, they avoid. She might glance at the floor or suddenly become overly focused on something in the room just to escape the pressure of your eyes. It's not intentional, it's instinctive. You might also notice her body becoming slightly closed off. Maybe she crosses her arms even when the conversation isn't heated. Maybe she turns her body slightly away from you, creating distance without realizing it. Maybe she starts fidgeting, touching her hair, adjusting her clothes, tapping her fingers, or shifting in her seat. These small movements are her body trying to release the tension that her mind is creating. And that tension comes from the fear of being exposed. The body reacts before the brain can control it. And that's why these signs are so powerful. Pay close attention to her tone and pacing as well. When she's hiding something, her voice may tighten, soften unnaturally, or suddenly speed up like she wants to rush through the explanation. She may pause at strange moments, searching for the right words to match the lie she already told. Her breathing might change, becoming shallow, quicker, or harder to steady, because lies activate stress responses that the body can't hide. Even the way she smiles can expose the truth. A genuine smile warms her whole face, especially her eyes. A forced one stays at the lips, stiff and reluctant. Another sign is overcompensation. When people lie, they often feel the need to act extra normal, extra calm, extra convincing. So she might talk more than usual, adding unnecessary details. She might try to seem extremely relaxed, but the act feels slightly exaggerated, like she's performing instead of simply being herself. Or she might become too still, too quiet, too controlled. Another sign, she's trying to manage her body instead of letting it move naturally. Both extremes reveal discomfort. And while she might believe her words can hide the truth, her body won't cooperate. The subconscious always leaks what the conscious mind tries to cover. So if you're listening to what she says, but watching how she acts, you'll begin to see the mismatch. That mismatch is the truth trying to break through. And once you learn to read these signs, you'll never be confused by mixed messages again, because the body will always show you what the heart is trying to hide. Sign number 4, when trust disappears, silence becomes louder than explanations. And this is one of the clearest signs that something isn't right. You'll feel it long before you understand it. There's a shift in the way she speaks to you, or more specifically, in the way she no longer speaks. Conversations that used to flow effortlessly now feel forced. Questions that once brought open, honest answers suddenly receive short replies, vague statements, or emotional distance. And even when she gives you answers, there's something missing behind them. Heart, warm sincerity. It's as if she's speaking but not connecting, talking but not revealing. And that gap, that emptiness becomes louder every single day. You start noticing that she avoids topics that used to be normal. She becomes careful with her words, choosing each sentence like she's walking through a minefield. You mention something simple, and she grows quiet, almost like she's afraid the truth might slip out if she says more than necessary. This silence isn't peaceful. It's defensive. It's the silence of someone who doesn't want to be caught. someone who's thinking more about protecting themselves than sharing with you. And what used to feel like emotional closeness now feels like a locked door you're not allowed to open. Pay attention to the pauses. Pay attention to the moments where she should have said something but didn't. Sometimes a lie isn't exposed by what she says, but by what she refuses to say. She might choose not to explain where she was or who she was with, hoping her silence protects her. She might give you surface level answers that avoid the deeper truth. She might brush off your concerns with phrases like, it's nothing, or you're overthinking, not because it's nothing, but because explaining it would reveal everything. And while she stays quiet, your intuition grows louder, telling you that something doesn't match. You'll also notice that the emotional connection begins to fade. When someone is honest, they open up. They share their thoughts, feelings, and experiences naturally. But when someone hides something, they shut down piece by piece. Their laughter feels different. Their presence feels distant. Even the way they sit next to you has a different energy. Silence fills the space where closeness used to live, and you can feel it even if she tries to pretend everything is fine. Silence becomes the barrier she puts up between her truth and your questions. Another powerful sign is when she uses silence to avoid accountability. Instead of addressing the issue, she pulls away emotionally or physically. She might become cold, irritated, or dismissive whenever you ask something that gets too close to the truth. Sometimes she doesn't argue because arguing would require honesty. Instead, she becomes quiet, hoping the lack of conversation will make you drop the topic. But that silence speaks for her. It tells you she's hiding. It tells you she's afraid. It tells you she doesn't want the truth exposed. And here's what keeps you hooked. You're trying to decode silence, trying to understand what she won't say. You replay conversations, trying to figure out the missing pieces. You fill the silence with thoughts, doubts, fears. But the reality is simple. When trust fades, silence becomes the loudest red flag in the room. And if you listen closely to that silence, it will tell you everything her words won't. A lie doesn't just hurt, it disconnects two hearts that were once aligned. And this is the part that people often underestimate. When she lies, it's not only the information that changes, it's the entire emotional connection between you. Suddenly, something feels off, something feels distant, something feels broken away you can't fully explain. It's like the rhythm you both once shared is interrupted by a beat that doesn't belong. You feel it in the way she talks, the way she looks at you, the way she avoids certain moments that used to be natural. And no matter how much she tries to act normal, the emotional gap becomes undeniable. When two people are connected, honesty forms an invisible bridge between them. You feel safe, you feel secure, you feel understood. But the moment a lie enters the relationship, that bridge begins to crack. You sense her pulling back emotionally, even if she's physically close. You sense a certain coldness where warmth used to be. You sense hesitation where there used to be confidence. This is because lying requires emotional distance. She can't lie comfortably while staying fully connected to you. Something inside her has to detach, even just a little. And that detachment is what your heart picks up on instantly. You might notice that conversations don't feel the same anymore. The emotional flow is interrupted. She talks, but her heart isn't in her words. She smiles, but the softness behind it has faded. She listens, but her attention seems divided, like she's mentally somewhere else. And you start wondering, what changed? Why does it feel like we're not standing on the same side anymore? That feeling is the emotional disconnect created by a lie. She knows something you don't. She's hiding something from you. And that creates a separation between both of your worlds. There's also a shift in how she responds to your emotions. Maybe she used to comfort you, understand you, or be present with you. But now her reactions feel muted, distracted, or inconsistent. It's not that she suddenly stopped caring, it's that she's carrying guilt or fear, and those emotions create walls you feel even if she never admits it. She may become defensive, overly sensitive, or emotionally unavailable. She may act irritated by your questions, not because you're wrong for asking, but because your questions threaten to reveal the truth she's hoping to keep hidden. And you can feel all of this even if you can't find the words to explain it. The bond feels weaker, the connection feels interrupted, and you keep searching for a reason, moment, a change that explains why your heart doesn't feel aligned with hers anymore. But the truth is simple. Lies break alignment. They change the emotional frequency between two people. They create distance where there used to be closeness and tension where there used to be ease. You sense her drifting even if she denies it. You feel the disconnect even if she acts normal. And the reason you feel it so strongly is because lies don't just change stories, they change energy, they change connection, they change the very foundation of the relationship.